Good to see you both. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Peter.
Lovely to see
Great
you.
to see you.
Colum, I did want to kind of ask you. It's interesting. Whenever you make something that is that has in a capacity and a, like original source material, like with this one, there's mythology and everything. You can kind of really use it as your guidebook, right? Or some people kind of just don't use the source material much and kind of like use it in the beginning, but then kind of throw it away a little bit. I'm just curious what that impression like that was for you with this one specifically with the Morrigan. Like, did you really think about the mythology and the goddess component of it a lot, or not as much as you would think?
I really did. But the thing about the Morrigan is, like in the movie, the stories were all passed down orally. So a lot of it's kind of been lost, and there's conflicting kind of accounts of the Morrigan. Like the Morrigan, to some people is like a trifecta, almost like, the Holy Trinity of different sort of goddesses and things like that. And then in some accounts, she can be very vengeful, and in others, she's like a good spiritual kind of about sovereignty in the land and stuff. So I kind of wanted to use the Morrigan, keep the spirit of it, keep the spirit of her, but in our story, she's angry. Like the world has not treated her well. And it's very much, at the time I was writing this, we were kind of really in the Me Too movement and that era, and how would the Morrigan, a sort of pre-Christian goddess, how would she react to the world and how would she see it? So that was kind of what I'd like, I wouldn't say I was sticking to even the source, because she's more of certainly the shape-shifting element of the Morrigan, which could come back, if we ever were doing another one or anything. But I wanted to keep the essence of the mythology rather than, really sticking to the letter, because it's not a biopic of the Morrigan, but yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Saffron, good to see you. And I did want to kind of ask, because I'm really interested, and depending on the project, I feel like it might be different, but that script to screen journey is always interesting to me because I'm a filmmaker. I think about these things. So you get the script for the Morrigan. It's very like on the page, I'm sure it's like very scary. There's a lot kind of going on, and then you get there, right? And it comes to life. What was that like for you specifically for this one? Actually getting there, because maybe you can like imagine it in your mind a little bit, but it only gets real, I feel like, once you get there on set.
Yeah. I knew that landscape would be spectacular. We evidently did the Chicago interiors in Belfast, so the whole shoot was in Northern Ireland, and personally, I have family from there. My maternal family are from there, so I was thrilled to find cousins I'd never met before. So I went on this personal thing, but the landscape of the locations Colum chose and that world that is depicted as an island in our story is incredibly powerful when you land, and there's this, close to Giant's Causeway, that landscape, that coastline. It was, and then seeing Emily turn into, Emily's character is inhabited by this creature, and I'm shooting kind of gentle, dramatic scenes, say with Toby Stevens, and then I turn around and Emily's in a harness, in her kind of Morrigan gear, and she's becoming paler and paler, and it was fantastic seeing just this shift. I don't remember in which order we shot or how chronological it was in terms of Emily's demise, but I do. My memory is that it got darker as the shoot went on, and cut to, we're in that sort of quarry in the water, and she's wading across, and I'm trying to save her, and I mean, it was pretty epic.
Yeah, absolutely. Colum, I did kind of want to ask, an indie film is interesting because you're thrown in and you always have to wear many, many hats, but you wrote this and you directed this. Did it feel like two separate hats? Like when you wrote it, there were certain things that you really focused on mindset-wise as a writer, and then when you directed it was a whole different ballgame, or did they feel like one big kind of storytelling hat with this film?
Well, I've kind of always sort of done it that way, so I don't really know what the alternative is. I think you write the script, and then the shit hits the fan, Peter, and then it's it's kind of like
that's literally what you just said is literally indie film. That's literally what it is.
So it's like, okay, I know what we wrote, but we've got half an hour here. Like, let's,
I want that
so
T-shirt.
yeah,
That
so it's kind
is
of
indie film ... when shit hits the fan. I think we got to make that T-shirt.
yeah. So it's you write things with the absolute best of intentions, and then reality kind of gets in the way when you're directing or trying to make it come to life. But I guess, and sometimes you get happy accidents, and sometimes you wrote stuff you didn't need or whatever. It's just it's such a organic kind of explosive experience. So it's it just it changes. What you have on the page is kind of worthless. Not worthless, but you're making it again. You're writing it again as you're shooting it. You're writing it again as you're editing it.
No, absolutely. And I did want to ask as well.
I thought I had a rat phobia, and the next thing I know, they're dropping a rat on my head, and it kind of became like a friend. Like Colin was mentioning earlier that the bats were a big issue in one location, right? And we had to kind of the bats are a protected species, so they were a thing. It was all, I mean, every day I looked at you and you were dealing with every hour something to contend with.
Well, like for instance, Peter, we were shooting in these catacombs of the cave, and we found out, we built stuff and everything. We found out the day before there's a protected bat species has been found, and
oh my goodness!
So we had to be out by 4 o'clock. So my shooting time for those 2 days was just halved.
I mean, Saffron's dealt with sharks before, so I think you got that.
True.
So she's
true.
And what happened when I was meant to be lighting the lighter and throwing the flame, and something went awry technically. So there was constant revisions on the hoof.
But I feel like it's kind of your answer to what with when you said, shit hits the fan and everything. I feel like you have that really good attitude of like, like you're going to have your good days and your bad days, and there's going to be pivoting. Like you kind of know that, right, Colum? Like being a filmmaker.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I probably write too ambitious things for, what the resources are that I have, but I kind of I think it's David Fincher, whatever, says you don't know your director till you need 3 shots and you've got time to do one. I think that's true.
No, absolutely. And last question, Saffron, I did want to ask you because you have such an incredible body of work. You play these different characters in these different worlds, and I'm wondering, like, it's all storytelling at the end of the day. So I'm just curious, like, how separate are past things you've done compared to something like the Morrigan? Like, do you bring mindsets or preparations from Deep Blue Sea, Mozart in the Jungle, to something like this? Or is it completely separate once you wrap them?
Well, I all the way through, I've always been drawn to just naturally. It felt when I started that research was something that made me feel grounded in what I was playing. So the same applied to the Morrigan. I was lucky to find a brilliant female archaeologist to talk with, and a wonderful archaeologist in Belfast who was an old friend of Colum's. And so for me, that really makes it rich, and it makes me believe the language all the more. And what I discovered only proved to certify that what Colum had written was wonderful and very true and grounded in reality amidst this extraordinary gory bloody tale that unfolds.
Very scary. Like, thank you, like, Colum, I was about to say at the beginning of the interview, like, thank you for your time, and thank you for the nightmares as well. Like, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's a great compliment.
That is a great compliment, but I can't wait for people to see the Morrigan. I had a lot of fun with it. It was really scary. I was dialed in, and I know how much work goes into these things. So when I see certain things, I always think about, like, it was probably very hard to get those shots, but they got those shots. So yay, you know what I mean? So thank you both so much for your time. It was an honor and privilege to speak with both of you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.